got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Check out past episodes. You know, some of my favorites, there's so many. The founder of Atari came on, and Chris Voss came on. If you haven't heard, anyone out there has read the book, Never Split the Difference. He's an ex-FBI hostage negotiator, which is specific to this interview, talking about security. And, you know, he basically talked about his stories negotiating with terrorists. Hostage situations. It was crazy. Also, check out with Chris Ategeka, one of my favorite interviews of all time, founder of 2 nonprofits, 2 for-profits. He grew up in Uganda, 7 years old. He became an orphan because both his parents died of AIDS, being the oldest of 5 children, and he became head of the household. And there's just so many amazing stories of him actually winning a scholarship to come to the U.S. He speaks 9 languages and ending up getting his PhD at Berkeley. And so check out that episode with Chris Ategeka, just really inspiring. And before I talk about today's guests who are, equally inspiring, this episode is brought to you by Rise 25, which I co-founded with my business partner, John Corcoran. And what we do is at Rise 25, we help businesses give to their best relationships and connect to their Dream 100 partnerships and give to their relationships in their network by helping you run your podcast. And that's what we do because, I have John and Dr. G here. The number one thing in my life is relationships, hands down. And so I'm always looking at ways to give to my relationships and the thought leadership. So if any of you out there have thought about starting a podcast, that's what we do. And we're the easy button for people. Go to rise25.com and check it out. And before introducing today's guest, I want to just a big thank you to 2 people. Lindley White has over 25 years of experience in corporate communications, and she actually began her career in the White House. She introduced me to Shantae Robinson, who connected with me, these amazing people. Shantae, if you don't know, is VP of Commercial Banking for JP Morgan Chase and in the Bake's Midwest lead for diversity and inclusion. And she helps drive innovative programs and pathways, and she helps middle-sized companies with a variety of financial services. So if you have questions, you can check her out. And today, without further ado, we have co-founders of the largest Black-owned security firm in the nation. John and Dr. G, I think of it, when I think of your story, it's a true amazing story, from single mother homes to starting in a basement to over 1,000 employee staff to a multi-million-dollar complex that you serve and you educate your staff and help other businesses. And for people who don't know who you are, AGB Investigative was founded as an investigative firm in 2001 by the husband and wife team in front of me, Dr. Denitra and John Griffin. Their mission is to eliminate economic inequities by delivering training and smart services by protecting your people, your property, and your data. And they expanded their business to provide a suite of security options, which we'll talk about because it's interesting how you expand a service, right? And going physical and cybersecurity and private investigation and the education training, which I talked about. And this is not a proper introduction without talking about what AGB stands for, which is always giving back. And they have a foundation that offers business internships, college scholarships to young people. Their services include all of the things I mentioned. So thank you both for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
There's so many places we could start with this. And I like to start in the beginning because, humble beginnings are always inspiring. And I listened to the episode you guys did with each other and talked about some of those humble beginnings and not having like a role model following a pathway, right? And so talk about, each of you, you're growing up like from a young age. What did you each want to be from a young age?
Well, I shared publicly that when I was growing up, my point of reference was my mother. And whatever she did or whatever she demonstrated, I was enamored with her position, and I wanted to be like my mom. And so at that time, my mom was a bank teller. So I clearly remember having to do an assignment for school. What do you want to be when you grow up? And a bank teller was my desire. But as I grew older, and kind of went outside the perimeter of my community, which included my school, my church, and my friends, my neighbors. I saw that there were other professions and other people that I can inspire to grow and model myself after. But at a very young age, my mother was my point of reference. Who she was who I wanted to be. And that's why it's so important that we provide access and opportunities to, the underserved or marginalized communities, because you clearly can probably only dream as big as what's in front of you.
Totally.
With me, my mom and dad divorced when I was 5 years old. So my dad's been a part of my life. He's a great guy. I love him. But my point of reference was really my uncles and my granddad, who we lived with. And those were the gentlemen who kind of helped me, shape me in terms of protection. Because we grew up, I was born in Robert Taylor, CHA projects, and I was raised in Inglewood. And it's always been my uncles and my grandfather who was the protectors, the examples, who would beat the bad guys up for me, and made sure I stay on a straight and narrow. My father is a great man. He's always been a part, but he had married my stepmom, who I love dearly, and started another family. So those are my examples.
What was life growing up in the Robert Taylor homes? What was that like?
So I moved down in third grade, and I used to go to Coleman School. I remember that, and I remember it's been a community where we had fun. We used to go out there, we just run around and play. But I knew it was a place that my grandfather and my mom wanted us to get out of. And they wanted to go somewhere we could have better schools and a better opportunity. So growing up there, it was nothing like it is now, the reputation it is now. It was still considered, I didn't know it was considered bad because I was third grade. So I'm like,
it's just your reality.
Right. So a lot of times, and I know I can speak for John and me, because I explained to John, like, I didn't realize how much I didn't have until I went to college, and I wondered why my roommates had like matching bath towels, and matching linen. I was like, this is really nice. And so I kind of took inventory. I was like, well, wait a minute. I was like, are we poor? Did I like grow up poor?
You don't realize at the time because it's your reality.
It's my reality. And I think what, one thing that John and I both shared, although we lacked access and resources, we were still filled with a lot of love.
A lot of love.
So you did
protection.
So you didn't realize what you didn't have because that's all you knew.
That's all you knew. Yeah. It was one episode when I went to Funtown. Funtown was it's a great Chicago Funtown for the kids and you. It was like 95th to Stony Avenue. So it was like Stony Island. So Funtown. So we went there. My mom took us there, and I saw all these kids getting cotton candy and popcorn. My mom was like, well, I can't afford that. So you guys got to share cotton candy and share popcorn. And that was the point I realized, man, we must be poor because I want my own popcorn. I want to get on all the rides. And I remember that, and, that's why I became, aware of my situation financially.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes I find, that's what drives like just a fire inside some of the entrepreneurs I talk to, which is just that moment. Like, I want to give my kids as much popcorn as they want, or some thought
exactly.
Like that.
And that's what really drove me to really want to provide that for my children. And sometimes I give my kids too much. She says, you give them too much. So, well, I was so poor. I wanted to make sure they had everything,
It's a tough balance, right? I mean, part of the reason that shaped both of you was your upbringing and probably your drive. And so how do you navigate that with kids, right? I mean, I watched your son, one of your sons, speak about you. John was like, I model my dad. He was in like a nice bow tie, and he was just saying, my dad comes home. People don't see how hard he works when he comes home. So you obviously have instilled that in your kids, despite giving them, giving them a lot.
Yeah,
right?
we hard work. My wife is unrelenting. She said that, you have to be able to work hard for what you want, and there are no accidents. You don't just become an A student. You don't just become a millionaire. You just grow a business out of osmosis. And she always taught our children, because she's the rock of our family, that you have to always give back and service to your community, service to others. Yeah. So we taught that to our kids.
Yeah, daily, I would ask them, how did you make the world a better place today? Like, you had to be able to respond to that. What did you do to make a difference?
They would hate that. They would hate that.
To the point that even, like when they were in school, I'm like, well, what did you learn, and how are you going to take what you learned to make an impact? And they'll say, oh, I didn't learn anything. And then I'm like, oh, well, let me just call the principal and let the principal know that you didn't learn anything. And they're like, well, wait a minute. But it's important that they understand, that they have to make a contribution to society.
Absolutely.
It's our role to set you up for success, but it's just the life cycle. You have to put out what you get in. You have to put out.
You got it. That's right. You're responsible for that. You are obligated to do that.
Dr. G, you saw something in John, right? Yes. And there is a really interesting story of how you came to be and met and dated and got married. But what did you see? Because you saw something.
Well, I hear
off the bat. I hear. What did you see that really made you gravitate towards him?
Yeah. And so it was really interesting. So outside, the initial attraction was his appearance. Very well-groomed, nice dress with hair. He had hair. And he didn't wear glasses there. Yeah. But even after the conversation evolved, just a strong commitment to family. When I met my husband, I met his brother. And he was on my college campus in my dorm room, and vehemently spoke about his brother. Wherever I go, my brother goes with me. Like, I take care of my brother. That's my best friend. And so I was really attracted to his commitment to family. And another thing that John had that I was really impressed with was his understanding and awareness of Black history. And so when I was growing up, I did not get history lessons that explained to me the life of African Americans before slavery. So all the years I grew up thinking that was our history, and having those type of conversations with John at a college level, to just really tap into what I learned in high school African American history class, really attracted me to him, because I felt like he can teach me something. Yeah. And so outside of the appearance, dedication to family, and the Black history, he had a job.
What was your job at the time?
Mailroom.
Yeah, I didn't know it was the mailroom though. But back then, so it was the early 90s. Yeah. And, back then it was a big thing. And you can, call somebody at their job. And when he said, oh, you can call, here's my work number. I was like, girl, he can receive phone calls.
Here's my corner office number. Yeah.
Right. He didn't tell me it was in the basement in the mailroom.
Small details. It's fine. When I was listening to your story also, one of the things that stuck out, it was like a dagger when I first heard this line, Dr. G, that you said, actually. And I was like, oh God, that like hurts. Okay. I don't know if you know what I'm going to say right now, but you said to John, I feel sorry for you. So take me back to that time and what was going on.
Yes. So I always say we, but so he was at a crossroad where he had to make a decision if he was going to continue to pursue his career as a Cook County State's Attorney's investigator, or if he was going to take the business full on. And
a huge decision.
Yes, very difficult. I'm not a male and head of the household, so it probably would have sat with me differently. So knowing his role in our family, he was at a crossroad. And, I blame myself sometimes because I have more faith in people sometimes when they don't have the same amount of faith in themselves. And when he was conflicted, I was irritated that he was conflicted because
I'm mad at you because I'm mad because you don't know. Yeah.
I'm like, you just don't know how great you are. And with you, you pray every day. I see you pray every day. You practice your faith religiously. So where is all of that? And, that's why I said, I feel sorry for you because you just don't know how great you are. And so I see the God in him. And, when given the platform, the space and the timing, I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And he didn't see it.
Yeah, John. So I want to hear your thoughts because when I heard the first part, when I was listening to it, I feel sorry for him. Like, oh my, that's a dagger to the heart. And then you say, because you don't know how great you are. I'm like, I don't even know how to take that. I don't know. That's my mind doesn't comprehend. It's like it's a compliment right afterwards. So John, my initial reaction, probably if I heard that, I would be totally defensive if someone said that to me.
Well, she took my soul, so I was like, oh, and I couldn't come back. And oftentimes, as she's my spouse and she's my life partner. She knows me better than I know myself. So when she said those words, she walked out and she went to work. And I sat there.
That's a mic drop right there.
Yeah,
and that's a mic drop.
I was out.
She was out. She said, I feel sorry for you because you know how great you are. Like that. So it just had me do a lot of introspection. And I would just, I sat there and I thought all day. And when that was said to me, it gave me the nudge that I needed to get going. So when she told me that, I said, well, I jacked my slacks because now I have to actualize what I've been teaching my boys and my girls about, making tough decisions and especially being a man, you make decisions and you live with them. And it was time.
So what was the first step that you took? So you said that Dr. G to John, and John, you are like, okay, like I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
What do you do next?
I talked to her. I told her that I was going to go ahead and resign my career because I was almost at 20 years. I was trying to get a pension and all that stuff. And she's like, and I was scared because AGB was not a stable business. It's making about 1.5 million or so. So it wasn't really a lot of money. And I was like, well, I'm not stable. I don't know if I'm going to survive this, because it's just tough, running a business. And I was like, and with a government job, every 2 weeks you get paid regardless. And I knew I had, my son was in high school. He was in a Catholic high school, De La Salle. I had a mortgage. I had children. And people depend on your dad. Dad has to take care of his responsibilities. So I talked to my attorney, and we wrote a letter of resignation. And I resigned. I was able to resign in good standing and get my retirement credentials. And I haven't looked back.
How long were you running the business on the side while you were working full time?
9.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of work. I would come home. I would go in my office. I would work. I would, hire people to.
Yeah, we had a full staff. We had a full.
That's
office.
Super impressive.
Yeah,
It was a lot of
neither
work.
of us were there full time. So there was a full-fledged office, receptionist, people running, directors. I don't think we called them directors at that time, but yeah, it was an office building with people in it.
Officers, cars,
That's wild.
you name it. And I had to run that, and it was tough. It's tough.
Dr. G, you were just like, listen, we built this. Let's just you just saw it could grow so much faster.
She's like, just go for it.
Yeah, because I knew security, the technical skills in security, he mastered that. And so I knew it. I just knew it. And I knew if you put yourself, make a 100% commitment of yourself into the organization, I knew what it would go. I knew where it would go. Yeah. And I explained to John, I'm like, no one can outsell him. No one can outsell him. So you go there, do that full time. I'll carry the insurance. I was still working for Chicago Public Schools. I'll carry the insurance and continue to, support on the side. but you got it. And the revenue tripled within a very short window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
you tell
go
it,
ahead.
Doc, you're a father. So you tell it to a man who has 4 mouths looking at him, and college in 4 years for the oldest boy.
It's pressure. Pressure, for sure. And I know, Dr. G, you have to hop off in a minute, but I wanted to ask roles wise. So now, things have probably evolved. Talk about your individual roles.
So for me, as the president of AGB, I really manage the day-to-day, really operationalizing the strategic plan, all of the P&Ls, the dashboard, the people, making sure all processes and initiatives are cohesive, and make sure that we're monitoring, our cash flow, our EBITDA, our gross margins, just operationalizing the entire business.
Yeah.
And my job is to answer her.
Exactly.
You Mary, you like, yeah.
Well, there's a funny story you tell, John, is I think you were out taking the garbage out and you get a phone call from Dr. G.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just left the house.
I left the house. I just left. I went to the curb, the roll the garbage can out, and walked back to the garage. Phone rang. She's like, "Hey," I just left the. I say, I just rolled the garbage. I ain't got in my car yet.
I love him so much.
She's like, "Yeah, we got to, you know what this is. We got to talk." So I had to get in the car and talk all the way to. I had to talk all the way. I said, I just left the house. I just rolled the garbage can. The garbage cans. Oh my God, Yeah,
just case in point, you answer to her. That's how it goes. And
but as a CEO, what I do is vision.
Yes.
We're building a SOC, a security operations center, and I am creating. And they just said, John, I need you to create.
Yes.
I need for you to create because you're a creator, and then we'll make it happen on this level. So it's not just so much of me creating. It's now it has evolved to what we're creating.
Yeah. He's transformational.
My wife
He's
is
transformational.
She's an equal partner.
Yeah.
So I say, hey, I want to build a school. Hey, I want to build a SOC.
Yes.
Hey, this is the growth strategy. And now it's more like, yeah, we're doing that, but what's in your mind?
Yeah.
Because she's also great, and together we just bounce off.
Powerhouse. Yeah. And Dr. G, I know whenever you need to hop off. I want to talk about values and culture. Like, culture is huge for you. Hiring is huge for you. I'm wondering, what do you look for? Talk about the hiring process a bit.
Yeah. So all our people, Doc, that we hired, we know that none of us was born to sit in these seats. I've never been a CEO of 1,000 man, licensed 15, 16 states. I never did this before. So my only criteria is not only integrity and morals, but are you open to better? And if you are open to better, then we can teach you what you need to know. And most positions in AGB, internal and external, we had to grow within. And now that we're bigger and we bring a lot of talent in, or consultants in, to help us to go places we haven't been before. But those are, you gotta have integrity, hardworking, and it's morals, because you're gonna be exposed to a lot. And we want to make sure that you grow in your role.
How would you look for when you're in the hiring process? Because sometimes people put their best foot forward. What are you looking for in that interview process to make sure, okay, this person's open to better and they have integrity that you want to be on the same team with?
Yeah. So what we do is that we it's a feeling that I get, my gut feeling. I'm speaking on a senior management position, because I don't know, the officers and that stuff pushed down on the lower level. But at Denitra in our position, we spend a lot of time recruiting people that we believe that would be comfortable in our, in our group, because you got to be able to, because we're very parochial. The senior leadership team is very parochial. It's like this, So we ask them scenario questions. We give them tough questions to answer about how would you respond to this. Tell me about a difficult situation you had to deal with, and how'd you go about. So look at their mind process, how they work, and you can tell script from reality. A person that's been authentic, they've been passionate, you can tell. or is it script? If they just trying to put on fluff to get the job, Doc. And that's how I can tell if these people are really, ready. And then we bring a leadership team in, and leadership team interviews the people. And then we step out and let them get there and have them interview the individual to see if they are, apropos for our team.
Yeah. If anyone watches the videos, there's some videos of kind of like showing some of the training that you guys do. And it seems very extensive.
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the, the background of the people that help put that together. I think they're part of your leadership team. I was reading on, you have like U.S. Marines on the team, on
Absolutely.
the staff and
we
other
have retired. Yeah. These guys were, because my background is law enforcement. So I went through, I was a state sergeant detail of the Secret Service, went to detective school, CPD, Chicago Police Department. I went through Sheriff Department. I went through regular police academies. So all this training I gathered, and I knew I've been to 4 or 5 academies. And I knew that I needed to make sure that I bring my security officers, not guards, to a certain level. And I knew that along that journey, Doc, I met people that was in the academies, that was instructors, and we became colleagues and friends. So when they retired, I said, hey, we're doing a 16-week academy for our security. Do you mind come back and teaching our guys how to properly shoot, how to start a special response team, how to take down people, how to use verbal judo. So that was very important to me. So what I did was I brought all those people together. I even brought in retired U.S. Secret Service agents to talk to us about how you do protection, executive protection, protecting people, different things. So that was very good. So these guys got top-notch training.
Yeah, that's not normal training in the industry. Not normal training,
no sir.
Yeah,
no sir. That's what separates AGB from anybody else. I think the way we treat our people and our training and our technology, those are very important mechanisms.
Talk about a story you're especially proud of that someone from the company kind of warded off like a dangerous situation because of the training.
Oh my God.
What's something that sticks out to you?
So we were at one of the I won't name your name.
Yeah, you don't have to name names, exactly.
Yeah, I won't name a name, but we were actually doing interviews at one of our major clients, and there was a shootout.
Wow.
Shootout, right? Like 10 feet from us. Because, we work in a lot of dangerous areas in Chicago. My officers, we were sitting around and we've been interviewed by the media. And when the gunshots rang, my officers took action. We were able to, long story short, apprehend assailants, recover guns, and took him down, and it was all on film because the film crew was actually filming what happened. Because you never believe a security company was able to respond like that. Those kind of stories. None of my clients on the federal level, we were hired at the highest level of federal government. I can't name any names. We were in a very sensitive situation where some information could have gotten out if we had not found it, took it to the proper authorities, and made sure that things were safely. Our job was to protect the perimeter from any leaks, and we were able to do that successfully. It could have been catastrophic, so we were able to do that.
John, talk about the evolution of the offerings, right? What did it start? And then when did you add on the different services?
So in 2001, it was an investigative company. Subpoenas, witness locates, witness interviews, things like that. I was told by one of my colleagues in the industry, hey, you really need to get a security license because you could begin to make more money, because investigation is very saturated, as is security, but you have more offers, you can do both. So I went and got licensed as security. I added security officers. And then from there, hey, you really need to add fingerprinting, because live scan fingerprinting is really good. You need to add that because you want to be all things to everybody. So we added live scan. And then, hey, as a security company agency, you should do your own training, your own unarmed training. So we got certified to do unarmed training. Then, hey, you need to add concealed carry because that's what's hot. And then we grew the training division into AGB Institute. And then, hey, you need to really add a security school, because you need to have a school that's going to be able to not only teach people internally, but offer soft skills, active shooter, workplace violence, terrorism threats, very basic Microsoft skills, PowerPoint, Word, all that. So we did that. So we began. But my growth plan was always cybersecurity, because while at the Secret Service Task Force, I was in forensics. I did forensics, computer forensics. And I knew that that's where it was, security was evolving to more of a cyber. So I went through the Goldman Sachs program. I was in Chicago, the first cohort in Chicago. And I wrote a plan about how to develop a cyber company. And we started moving toward that. So everything to everybody. So we are now a complete company from the virtual to the physical. So people
give me an example, John, of like a cybersecurity. You don't have to name names or anything, but what's a common thing that you'd have to deal with, or maybe, just to give people an idea, when you say cybersecurity, what is a company trying to, or
very
what are
basic.
some of the attacks that happen?
Oh my God, very basic. How about starting from the desktop with virus definitions, vulnerabilities, monitoring networks, reporting, network packets that appear to be or maybe been watched, or there's something on the network, penetration testing, all that. So we've had clients that come to us and say, listen, I believe I was a victim of, I've been hacked. And we go to their computer, we found out they have no definitions, no virus protectors on the computer. There's nothing that's meant. So now someone enter the computer and go throughout the whole network. How do you get rid of that? So we had a lot of clients, a lot of small, a lot of dental companies, dental offices, medical offices, just small companies.
Yeah.
So, getting them ready and understanding, to be intelligent about your cyber needs.
I see what you mean. So for an example, let's say a company comes and say, John, we need your help. You may have, officers on premises watching,
Right.
And then you're like, well, listen, are you protecting your infrastructure? No. Okay. We can provide the cybersecurity. And then if they want a whole view, I think I was reading that you even have like drones, or that you deploy, things like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My son, John Griffin III. Yeah, my son, John Griffin III, is a couple of people are licensed drone pilots, Part 107 drone pilots. And because people and clients want drones, sometimes you can have a more area view. You can, and speak back to the security officers on the ground. Hey, mount this way. There's a potential gang war going on, or there's some guys that look nefarious. So this will give you opportunity to go check. So my light just went out. It's on the timer. There we go. So
we
try to
mentioned
make
security, and you're like, low key, the lights go out. Like,
yeah. So
it's triggered by words. You say
Right.
drone, the lights go down. No.
So all that. So really, Doc, from the virtual to the physical, we do the whole thing.
Wow.
And these guys I have working with me are former special agents, are retired, armed forces, and they know cybersecurity. They know security.
That is cool. Wow. Like, you could really see a lot. I'm sure like the stuff that you record and see is totally private to that company, but
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've seen way too much,
no idea
with the surveillance that you do.
Yes.
Your company does.
Yes, you have no idea, sir. We've seen a lot, but we've been involved in, I can show you films. We've been involved in hostage incidents with the backup CPD. And we went in, it's on film, and the CPD officer said, hey, when AGB came back us up, we knew we were okay. They act like the police. They trained, they understood how to approach the protocol. So
yeah, you have to work closely with all of those organizations.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about hiring and culture, because there's a few people that you've hired I love you to highlight. But before we do, I know you're a big fan of quotes. And so I'd love for you to share a few of your favorite quotes and some of the people who said those quotes, some of your, mentors, whether they're in-person mentors or distant mentors.
Right.
So I love quotes also. So
Yeah.
what are some of your favorites?
Well, one is success is not an accident. Success is intentional. Muhammad Ali. That's very important. I tell my team, we don't just accidentally become successful. There's work, Tiger Woods talk about the short game. Everybody hit the ball 400 yards, but it's the short game. Short game for me has been excellent in my details. See, that's what happens. You have a team that does big things well. What about the small things is most important? So we deal with that. So many. No backward steps. Meaning, even when we make mistakes and we fail, those are more valuable nuggets than our successes. So we put those positive affirmations in our daily life. And, we do an autopsy. We fail, we get together. Okay, what happened? What did we learn? How are we going to improve? That's what good company does, And we really look at Steve Jobs. He said that, we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do, So we so I hire you, I got to trust you to do your job. So if I can't trust you and you're a smart person and you're supposed to do this and I'm teaching you, then you're in the wrong seat, So those are the really quotes that I believe in.
You have any favorite, I'd love to hear any favorite leadership or business books
Oh my God.
that I'd love to hear about.
John Johnson, the founder of Softsheen BT, Softsheen Jet, Succeeding Against the Odds, TD Jakes. I'm a big fan of TD Jakes. I don't know if you ever heard of Pastor TD Jakes. Oh my God. He's his business acumen is off the charts. Who else we read? We're doing my wife is having us do a leadership cycle now, and we're reading books on the book. It escapes me, but the book we're reading right now is dealing with servant leadership. And that's what we're really doing. We went on a retreat. We told our senior team, you have to service your people. How do you do that? So we all doing leadership where we read a book and we get together every month and we talk about the chapters and we want to see it in action. Yeah. So we do stuff like that. But yeah, those were Muhammad Ali, which is my idol, his books on Callous on My Soul and things like that. These are great motivational books because these guys came from my community, so I can relate to those guys. My wife read, Iger, I think it's the Walt Disney CEO.
Oh, the Bob Iger.
Yeah, Bob Iger. Yeah. She loved Bob Iger. She read all this stuff, So she's reading books and we share. I read Principles by the 800-page book. I forget the author's name, but it was very good. He's a billionaire. So
is that Ray Dalio? Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio. Yes, love Ray Dalio. I read Call Me Ted Turner, CNN founder. Just Call Me Ted. I read his books. Man, I read so much because that's how I learn. That's how you learn.
Yeah. When's your book coming out?
Oh my God. I've been asked to write a book, Doc. But Doc, I'm telling you, it's very difficult because
you're busy. You have over 1,000 staff.
But it's fun. We know for 1,000 people and it's fun. And we're building our portfolio. We're building the stock and we're rolling. But I will one day get to it writing a book.
Yeah, good. I'll buy it. I'll read it. I'll spread the word on it. But I wanted to talk about Willie Odom.
Yes. Willie Odom came to AGB as a $10 an hour employee. Willie Odom was a member of the Gangster Disciples, street gang. Willie Odom came to AGB with braids in his head and, with the different color rubber bands, sagging pants. And I said to him, "Are you open to better?" He said, "Yes." So Willie Odom, I said, "Well, if you want to do better, let's first clean you up." Because in my community, Doc, and security being low barrier entry, people come in any kind of way, looking very unkept, unclean. And that's not my model, my brand. So when I told him that your uniform, your appearance must command respect. And you can't look like the average Joe because you're different. And being a member of AGB means different. There's opportunity for you. Willie cut his hair. Willie started dressing nice. Willie started being on time. I gave him things to read. So read these books about all these African-American men who came from nothing. So that's an excuse because I came from the projects. So let's get rid of that. So where you talk about you came from, I've been there. Willie began, I noticed that Willie was very good with numbers and his writing ability was stupendous. I said, well, you learn how to write, Willie? He said, well, I always wrote and read. So we talked about polishing his writing skills a little bit more. Willie took that on and Willie began to rise through the ranks. Willie makes 6 figures today. Willie met his wife at AGB. Willie has 2 cars, a home in the suburbs. He has 3 children who are doing well. Willie been with me for 12 years and one of my superstars.
Amazing.
So Willie is doing well.
How soon when you met him, was it right away when that you said, are you open to doing better and you made some suggestions, or did it take a little while to break through for him to start to make those changes?
Well, when I saw him, we had my wife was doing Feed My Starving Children. She was doing a fundraiser. She was doing raise money for kids and packing food. So I came to my staff and says, hey, you guys, we're at this high school on the south side of Chicago packing meals for kids, and you should come out. Willie was one of 4 people that came out. Out of, at the time, 50 employees, Willie came out. He's moving the tractor trailer, he's involved. And I said, okay, for him to take that on, the volunteer,
He's
on
taking
his
the
off
initiative.
Day, and then he's okay. Oh, you come back? Oh, she's back.
Awesome.
So Willie Odom took that on. So I was telling about Willie Odom when I first noticed is Feed My Starving Children. You did that, Feed My Starving Children, and Willie was there. He's working the tractor, putting the things up. So I said, this guy, he volunteered. You remember? So I took Willie and I said, I'm going to help you. And he began to buy into the AGB way, the cleanness, the grooming, the writing ability, to understand how to do security. And he's been with me for almost 12 years now. He's the director. He manages a team of about, he has.
His portfolio is a little over 2 million.
Yeah. When he take over the other accountants, about 4 million.
Yeah, about 4 million.
Yeah. So he's doing well. He's got a wife. His wife was a lieutenant working here. So he met her on one of the sites he managed. So, and we have no fraternizing unless you go to HR and say, hey, I'm dating her. So, that way we know, and it keeps down any legalities. So he came, he declared to HR, hey, I'm dating this woman. And
I think we married them before they were ready to be married.
You married him. Yeah, exactly.
So Willie was the one who came in and really took advantage of, are you open to better?
Yeah. I mean, from the get-go, people judge other people very quickly. And when he walked in the beginning, you saw through, like you mentioned, he had a certain look and a certain way he dressed and a certain way he acted. What did you see in him to say, yeah, we're going to hire this person? Because I bet there's other companies that wouldn't have hired that person.
Yeah. He spoke well. And he came in, and at the time I was involved in that lower hiring because it was the hiring of officers. And when I told him, I said, when he came in with the earrings and the the braided hair and the sagging, I said, brother, you can't, he's a big guy. So I said, we need big guys in security, and I said, I need for you to be open to getting your hair cut. He's like, yes, I will. And I want a job. I want to be able to take care of my family.
Got it.
I want to be able to do things. And I think he had a daughter at the time, just one daughter. And
so maybe if he reacted differently, maybe if he said, no, well, you crazy? I'm not going to cut my hair. Then it may have gone differently. He was open to changing.
Remember, Doc, when we first started, I told you that, your integrity and morals, and are you open to better?
Yeah.
Because we can teach you what you know. We can teach you here. We have a a program, a curriculum. We can teach you how to be a civilized man and woman. We can teach you that. But if you're not open to it,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Raja. If I'm pronouncing that right. Rajay, welcome.
Rajay, beautiful young lady. Rajay, welcome. Started with us as a temp. We were, it was 7 years ago, and we had a lot of, we had to do a lot of converting over to our files into virtual. So she just graduated with her master's degree. So she's already a civilized woman, graduate, but she couldn't find a job. So we said, we need somebody to come in and we had a temp service come in, just scan documents, all the employees' files up into the cloud. Not the cloud, it was the server at the time. There was no cloud then, it was server. We came in, we saw Rajay working very diligently, always on time, always professional. My wife took a liking to her. They belong to the same sorority. So we call her our daughter. And we met her parents. And her parents, we had a party or something, and her mother and her father came, and we was telling them how fun we are of their daughter. She's a good young lady. Well, today, Rajay's been with us almost 7 years. She's a manager of procurement. She met her husband here, who is the finance, the payroll manager of payroll, and
they're getting married.
They're getting married in New Year's Eve this year.
Wow,
getting married
amazing.
And
yeah,
she's a superstar. She runs all procurement, so contracting, proposals. She's in on some of the presentations, so she does all that, federal, state, and local. So she's very skilled at that now.
Thanks for sharing both those stories. And I want to talk about always giving back as far as the internships and scholarships. But before I ask it, Dr. G, when you were gone, John and I were talking about his favorite leadership books and business books. And so I'd love for you to share a few of yours. And he was mentioning you do kind of like, not really a book club, but almost like a training for the leadership staff. So if you could share some of your favorites.
I told him about you and Bob Iger, though.
Becoming the Best.
Becoming the Best by
Harry Kramer. So that's a good book. That's the book that we're going to read. Have a professional learning cycle where we're not just reading the book, but we'll actually observe each other, implementing strategies and techniques that the book has articulated as best practice. So.
Tell about your books, though. You want to know about your books.
So one of my favorite books, the root of my favorite readings are Marva Collins' Way, which is this African-American educator who was well-renowned in the 70s and just a strong advocate for the underserved. And so I use that really as an inspirational book. Another one of my favorite reads is Oprah Winfrey, The Path Made Clear. Really understanding where you fit in the life cycle and your purpose and extrapolating your purpose into practice. One of my books that have become my favorite reads for 2020 was Strategize to Win by Dr. Carla Harris. And so because of John and my role, oftentimes we are mentors by default. And so that book by Dr. Carla Harris is a really good read. I tell all of my mentees to read it, especially those that are just graduating from college. Read the first 2 chapters. It's going to change your life.
I told about Bob Iger.
I think it was The Road to Win or something like that. But of course, he's the ex-CEO of Disney. And he really talks about having that internal drive and that relentless pursuit of perfection that you have to have as a leader and, of course, as an entrepreneur. So those are some of my favorites. That
gives a lot of people to chew on, I'm sure. That gives a lot for people to chew on. I love those. Yeah. I mean, I wrote them all down. avid reader, so I asked
Nice.
I asked selfishly, and then for anyone else listening, I'm sure they could check it out, so I could put it in my Audible queue.
Yes.
I have two last questions about internship, scholarship, always giving back.
Sure.
Before I ask it, I want to point people towards agbinvestigative.com. And I know you have AGB Institute .org. Where else should we point people towards online? Any other places?
Yes, agbfd.org. That's the foundation. So if you are interested to just see how what we learn and what we do for adults transcend down to young people, their children, and others in the community, then Always Giving Back Foundation will give you a great representation of that.
AGBFD.
Yes.
.org. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think we've given away, Doc, so far about $50,000.
Yeah, it's been over $50,000 in scholarships.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk
Was
about
that
the
about 4 years?
scholarships and internships. What impact have you seen? Maybe there's an individual story, and maybe talk about the foundation and what you do there.
Well, the foundation, similarly to AGB, is mission to disrupt the cycle of poverty. And we do that through educating young people on their role as a philanthropist in the community, on their role of understanding financial literacy, and as well as workforce development.
That's right.
And so if we want to disrupt the cycle of poverty within underserved communities, we have to teach our young people how to begin thinking that way.
Yeah.
And so we really invest, the lion's share of our program is really around workforce development. And so we want to make sure that our young people are hireable and for employment or self-employment and what that looks like. As it relates to financial wellness, we have our own secure podcast where we talk about entrepreneurship and how that's important, home ownership, as well as life insurance. So when we think about generational wealth, those are typically the three buckets of how you can transcend wealth. And of course, as you grow as a young person, once you know you're obligated to give, and so you must be a philanthropist.
I love it.
Yeah.
There go lights again. I didn't say drone this time, Doc.
First of all, I want to thank both of you for your time, for what you do in general for society, and everyone should check out the websites agbinvestigative.com, agbinstitute.org, and agbfd.org. And I want to be the first one to thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's
Thank you, Doc. It's a
pleasure.
pleasure. Great
Nice to
interview.
meet you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100 grand.